Hello and welcome, guys. Thank you for tuning into my channel. My name is Anthony and I take this opportunity to welcome all of you today. It's a pleasure to have you on. It's a pleasure to have you view my channel, and it's my hope that at the end of this video that it shall answer a question or two that you had concerning what you're going to speak about today. So I welcome you and I pray that you shall enjoy our session today. As we began in the last episode, we are having a series that I titled Leadership Talks, which I think is a very important segment or a mini series when it comes to the aspects of leadership that I think will be quite beneficial to young upcoming leaders, especially within the Kenyan context. But it can apply anywhere else, but I have a bias towards the Kenyan context, So today I'd like us to focus on a title, or the topic of today is how do I know that I am ready for leadership? How do I know when it is time to begin? How do I know? This is a very important question, I think, for many young leaders and anyone ideally who would want to step up for leadership positions, and especially for public service or public leadership positions. You will have to encounter this question at one point of your journey, and you will have to ask and answer yourself in kind. So when do I know that I am ready for this position? The long and short of it is I also don't know. Yep. So I will give you some hints, I will give you some pointers, but I cannot pinpoint to a specific place that will be uniform for all people, or a specific point in time that will apply uniformly across everyone. No. This realization comes at a different point for everyone, depending on what you've been called to do, depending on certain factors that, affect the leadership that you've been called to fulfill. And so, how do I know when I'm ready? In order for me to ask this question, or in order for me to answer this question, I have to ask another question. How does a pregnant woman know that it's time to give birth? Yep. How does a pregnant woman know that it is time to give birth? If you are able to answer this question, then you probably might get a few pointers to guide you to when or to which season might actually indicate that time for you to step up is at hand. And so we're going to use this analogy of a pregnant woman to kind of deduce what season in comparison faces a leader who is ripe for public presentation. As with a pregnancy, there is the conception of the pregnancy. Okay, so we all know how babies are formed. So there's the conception. Conception means the coming together of the male and the female species, and then there is the copulation, and then there's the formation of the fetus. So the fetus is the conception of the baby. So that's when the life begins. That's when the journey begins. So this point begins in the life of a leader when you have witnessed a certain thing in society go on for a very long time. Because remember, leadership comes from a burden. There is no leader, or there's no born leader who was called without a burden. There is a burden that you have for society that God has called you to fulfill. So it is that burden that you have that propels you to seek leadership. You don't seek leadership for fun. So the burden is the genesis of your leadership. And then that burden, when it comes to leadership, we can compare it with like the fetus. So the burden and its progression is like the fetus and the progression to become a baby. So the moment you receive a burden in your heart, that is when the formation of the baby begins in you. So God gives you a burden. And this burden is not something that just happens one day. It is something that you have grown up, having concerns about. There are things that happen in society that irritate you, that you're not pleased with, you're not comfortable around, and they make you feel like you need to do something about it. So there has been a growing sense of being unsettled whenever you are in the midst of this thing. And gradually it amounts to that burden that becomes like a weight you carry in your heart, that I have witnessed this injustice or this problem or this thing go on for a very long time, and now it is at the juncture that I need to do something about it as a person. So the point where you now get the resolve to do something about it, that is the conception of the pregnancy or the conception of the burden. So you start first of all by seeing what the problem is, and God has given you the eye because your purpose is seen through the lens of your eyes. How you see life is supposed to guide you to what your purpose is, because you see life through the lens of the solution that you bring as a person. A person who is supposed to fix systems will always see the negative in the systems that are currently there. So when you look at society, you see the problems, you see where the flaws are, you see where the breakages are. That is how you are wired to perceive life. And the reason why you perceive it that way is because you also have that solution. So the beginning process of this journey is when you identify what the problem is. That problem is equated to a burden. God gives you now the ability to carry that burden in your heart. It becomes something that is unsettling, something that bothers you, something that you need to find a way to resolve it. So it is a weight that you carry concerning a particular thing in society. It can be homelessness, it can be joblessness, it can be, poor governance, you name it. We are all called to fix different things. So as you identify the problem, God will start now taking you through a process. This process is a refining process that purifies your sight. Okay? Purification of your sight removes every vision that you have that sees useless things in life. God will start narrowing down your vision to start identifying solutions to the problem that you already perceive and is in your heart as a burden. So He will take you through various learnings, through various seasons of life, where you'll start being equipped. You might be required to go to school. You might be required to do a certain course. You might be required to submit under a certain person, under a certain organization, under a certain mentorship. All these things are supposed to bring about a form of apprenticeship. It's called apprenticeship, or something of the sort. So you are being attached to a refining process and an equipping process that equips you with the necessary skills, the necessary knowledge, and the necessary experience to be able to tackle the problem that God has given you the burden for. So the burden is already in your heart. And because you have the burden, God now takes you through a process to equip you with relevant skills, knowledge, competence, know-how, and all these things, so that as much as you are aware of the problems, you also can provide solutions. So a leader cannot be a leader unless you are able to identify what the problem is, and at the same time you are able to come up with a solution to the problem. And sometimes God will not even give you that. He will connect you to people who are able to be solution givers to the problem. And God will equip you with the necessary skills and ability to coordinate the people who are able to come together as a collective and provide a solution to the problem that He has given you as a burden. Okay? So, this journey from when the burden was placed in your heart, that you now could not just sit back and do nothing about, you had to take proactive steps to find a solution to the burden that is in your heart, from the process that when that thing started to the process to the stage where you present yourself to the world as having a viable, tested, ready solution that is like or is equated to the process where a woman gets, when the baby is formed, okay, the fetus, until the process where now the baby is at birth. So the journey from the fetus to the baby being given birth is the journey from when God gave you the burden to when you have a ready-made solution, okay, ready to be exercised and revealed to the world. So there is a process of equipping that God has to take you through. It can happen in two ways. God can consciously take you through this process after revealing to you what your purpose is, what the burden is, and what solution are you supposed to bring forth. So there are people, and this is why it is important to be connected to God, to take your spiritual life seriously, because those who are able to connect to God, God will reveal this to you through dreams, through visions, through men and women of God. So He can use any way to reveal to you your purpose and the preparation process. So to such kind of people, you have an awareness or a consciousness of the preparation season that God is taking you through as and when it happens. So as God is preparing you, He is furnishing you to be the leader that He wants you to become. At the end of this process, you are aware, you are conscious of what is happening, you are conscious of what God is doing, you are conscious of every trial, every stage of your testing and preparation that you're being taken through. That is one side of the coin. There's another group of people that don't even know that God is preparing them for leadership, because they have not maybe had a relationship with God that is deep enough to have the consciousness and awareness of such happenings in their life. So God will just prepare you without your understanding. Let's say you were doing a job, then all of a sudden you just feel like this job is boring me. It's, I'm getting fatigued. I do not have satisfaction from this job. I just feel like the grace to do this work is not there. So you quit your job, you start, volunteering, you quit your job, you start a private business, you quit your job, you start daring, you go and do art, you do anything. So you are being moved by your spirit, okay? So God is using your spirit to urge you or to nudge you to make that move. And so He will prepare you without your knowledge, and at the right time, He's going to reveal it to you. So there are people who establish or have a relationship with God, okay, from the start point. Then they have conscious awareness when He's preparing them all through. And there are those that God will prepare them all through. Then He comes and introduces Himself at the end, at the tail end of the process, and just reveal to this person, this is why I've been doing this and this in your life. I've been preparing you for this and this position. You're supposed to be a leader, present this solution. You're supposed to help these people do ABC. So God decides how He will do it. He can reveal it to you in the beginning of the process, in the middle of the process, or in the end of that process. So every position of leadership that God prepares you for has a preparation process that you go through, which I call a wilderness process, or a wilderness period or stage in your life, whereby He takes you to the trenches. He humbles you so that you walk with the bare minimum. You need to get the basic understanding of how that thing functions so that you can build it up from the bottom going up. God does not deal with half-baked people. God does not provide half-baked solutions. God does not do things halfway. If God is going to prepare you for leadership, He starts from the barrel, from the bottom of the barrel. He starts at the bottom. He starts from the ground. He builds it up. And from the ground, you remember, there needs to be a foundation. So the wilderness process, where He isolates you, where life does not make sense, where you feel like everyone that you knew is making progress. Why am I, or why does it seem like my life is stagnant? Why does it seem like my things are not working? Why does it seem like I am in a constant state of preparation and learning, and everything is hard, and this process does not seem to end, and there's just this perpetual hardship? It is a preparation process. God is furnishing you through fire so that everything that was impure, every weed that had attached itself to your life, every corruption, every fake personality that you had gained, anything that does not coincide with your purpose, will detach from you during the wilderness process, because He removes every fake temporary thing that had blinded you to the actuality of your purpose. Then He starts showing you the basics. These are the basics of a leader. I want you to be equipped with this and this skill. This is what you need to do. You need to learn humility. I will teach you service. This is how you serve people. This is how you treat people fairly. You're not biased. This is how you become a leader with equity. This is how you provide justice to people. So these concepts, they are not just imaginary facades in your mind. God takes you through a thorough practical process that He teaches you how to be compassionate, how to be loving, how to be just, how to provide equity, how to do all these things that I keep on teaching you about. They are not abstract. God will actually take you through a process of refining so that you can be thoroughly furnished with these, skills. Then He takes you through now the technical aspect of what you need to learn. Some of you have inborn ability to provide these solutions. Within your mind, He has given you the mind to envision the solutions. Some techniques you need to go to school to be equipped with. Some you need to meet the right people to train you. So God will equip you according to what He has called you to do. So, how do I know that you're ready when this process is ongoing? Or how do I know that I've come to the end of this process? The same way that a woman feels the labor pain, okay? When a child is about to be born, the first indicator that that season or that moment is at hand are the labor pains. There is a stretched time between when the labor pains start and when the actual birth happens. So the labor pains are supposed to prepare you psychologically so that you get yourself ready mentally. You can go to the hospital and be in the right mindset to birth the child. So there are labor pains also when it comes to purpose. When God has been preparing you for leadership, when you know where you're going to lead, who you're going to lead, and in what capacity you're going to lead, you're going to start seeing labor pains within that place, within that field, within that territory. Because you need to know what you've been called to do as a leader. And the labor pains that I'm talking about is you're going to start seeing a quest for change, a yearning for change. Because the reason why God is preparing you is that there is a vacuum in the current state of leadership within that place that He wants you to go to. So because there is a vacuum, those people that are being led will start agitating for change. When you start seeing this agitation for change, okay, then the vacuum will start to become evident. And because the vacuum will start becoming evident, the quest for a replacement will start flickering, okay? So you'll start noticing that the incompetency of this leader is starting to show. The inadequacy of this person who is currently leading is starting to show. The negative traits, the weaknesses, all the faults of this person will start to become evident. So these are the signs, okay? In the Bible, Jesus mentioned a part where He says, you people know how, when you look at the sun, you can tell that it is morning, and when you look at the sun, you can also tell that it is evening. So by looking at the weather, you can tell when it's morning and evening, but you do not know how to perceive the seasons that we are in. He was condemning that generation because they do not know how to perceive the labor pains. So labor pains when it comes to leadership are the seasons where people are agitating for a change in leadership. They're agitating for a change in how things are governed and managed. So when you're being prepared to step into a certain space, the labor pains will start showing. And when the labor pains start showing, you now start preparing yourself, aligning yourself to that position. You have already been prepared. You have the necessary understanding of the problems, which is equated to the burden that you have in your heart. You have been prepared to become the solution to that. Now, what happens during labor pains, similar to when a mother starts now preparing themselves psychologically, mentally, they go to the hospital so that they can be at the right place when the child comes. You start now positioning yourself. Remember, this has to be a very strategic thing that you do gradually. You have to read the mood. You have to read the environment. So you start positioning yourself and start presenting yourself as the solution to what God has been preparing you for. So how do you do this? Where are the places that God has told you to prepare for? What are the vacancies? What are the opportunities that are coming forth for you to showcase your abilities? Are there seminars? Are there gatherings? Are there meetings? Are there platforms that are being presented forth so that you can come and contribute? You can come and give your 2 cents. You can come and showcase your ability. So you start becoming attentive. You start becoming cautious. You start becoming intentional with observing these opportunities, with observing these gaps that will come forth, because there is no vacuum in this life. When one comes out, another fills. And leadership is not given, it is for those who are ready, and it is taken. So you need to take the opportunity when it comes. So you start observing, you start seeing, where are the opportunities? What can I do? Okay? The first place I can tell you is start releasing your mind to the world. Start sharing your idea with the world. Start sharing your vision with the world. And it's been made easier. You have social media. So start communicating your intent with those around your immediate circles and environment, so that you are preparing yourself consciously and mentally, and you're also preparing those who are to receive you consciously and mentally for this position, so that when the fullness of the labor comes and it reaches the time for you to birth your child, you'll be well prepared and positioned to give birth successfully to the vision that God had given you. This burden that God placed in your heart, you're going to birth the solution to it successfully. So the same way a mother does not know the exact time of the birth, is the same time you will not know the exact place that your journey will be birthed. It is all in God's hand. Our role is to identify when the labor pains are showing, position ourselves, and be in expectation, eagerly waiting for the opportunity to give birth. And at the right moment, the baby will start pushing. When the baby starts pushing, okay, or when the baby starts coming out, you now start pushing. But you cannot push if you are not positioned correctly. So how do I know that I am ready for leadership? When the child that you're carrying, when the vision that you're carrying starts to yell, starts to cry, when you can no longer hold that pregnancy in you, when that burden becomes unbearable. Okay? The same way a pregnancy cannot be hidden when it's time to give birth is the same way your vision cannot be contained when it's time to be released to the world. So you will know it from within, you will know it by the environment, you will know it by the labor pains, you will know it by the season of where you have been prepared for. When the season aligns to what is in you, then that is the right time to birth the vision. I hope this makes sense to you, and I hope you can use that analogy accurately, and it's my hope that it has helped you. So that's where I will stop it for today. I pray that this has made sense. I pray that this has helped someone out there. You can make something of whatever I have been talking about today. So that's it for me today. I thank all of you who have stayed until the end, and it's my hope that you will use this understanding to kind of align yourself to what God wants to do in your life. Okay? So from my end, I'd like to urge you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I am sufficiently hopeful that I will see you for my next video. God bless you. God bless our beautiful country, Kenya. And see you for my next episode. Cheers, guys.